Howdy folks, it's Generalkidd here. How's everyone doing today? So for today's video, well, the title says it all. So throughout Halo 3, we've seen a lot of Marines get infected by the Flood. Actually, we've seen pretty much every species get infected by the Flood. And in previous videos, I've even showed you more specific characters like Miranda Keyes or even Arbiter and other major characters getting infected by the Flood. And Halo 3 is unique because, unlike Halo 2, the Flood are also able to infect live victims, whereas in Halo 2, only dead Flood bodies can be reanimated by the Flood. But we've only seen, Marines in general, as far as humans go. What about the dock workers, or the civilians in Halo 3? Can they be infected by the Flood? Well, let's take a look. Some characters, like Miranda Keyes, they naturally cannot be infected by the Flood. It took some modding to make her have entry points and have the Flood transformations in order to get her infected. But let's see if dock workers by default can be infected by the Flood. So what I did was, similar to my previous videos, I modded a bunch of Flood carriers onto the mission The Storm, and we spawned in this room with a bunch of workers in it, civilians. So, and I popped them, and then let's see what happens from this point on. So here's one civilian here. And as you can see, the Flood do indeed attack him. Now this civilian here, this worker, he's unmodded. This is how he is in a normal game. So as you can see there, once the Flood entered him, he just disappeared. So what happened there? Well, because this mission did not have the Flood on it, none of the characters had Flood transformations set on their bipeds. So because they have nothing to transform to, they just vanish. So it doesn't mean they can't be infected, because they can. As you can see, they have entry points for the Flood infection forms. So the answer is yes, the Flood workers can be infected. But on this particular mission, they don't have anything to transform into. And another interesting thing is that these Flood infection forms, they just ignore these guys down here. They're not dead bodies, but they're not fully alive either. They're kind of just lying there and chilling. And the Flood infection forms also just ignore them. But anyways, going back to that, their bipeds thing, none of the characters, not even the Marines, have the Flood infection transformations on their bipeds on this mission. And that's because the Flood don't exist on this mission. So if any of these Marines were to get infected, nothing would happen to them either. So I modded the game so that I added the transformations back. It was a simple setting. I just had to switch it back on because it didn't exist there. But now that it's back in, as you saw there, the dock workers can transform into Flood combat forms as well. And as you saw there, the dead body was just infected. But they're still ignoring all the wounded. But the dead body can be infected. But let's try to get a live one. Now, before we get to the live one, let me quickly tell you guys a few puns. So, you might have heard some of these before, but have you ever tried to eat a clock? It's very time-consuming. Alright, now, so, here we have a dock worker being attacked, another civilian being attacked by the Flood, and as you can see, he gets infected by the Flood just fine. In fact, in my personal opinion, it seems like his animations are a lot more smooth, and his transformation is a lot more smooth than when Miranda Keyes got infected by the Flood. Hers was a little choppy. Same with when the Arbiter got infected by the Flood. But that's just my personal opinion. It comes more of an observation. It may or may not actually be true. But I think the dock workers are kind of based on the Marines, so that's why they get infected a lot easier. But that's just my guess. So let's try and get a few more dock workers infected here. And actually, really quick, while this one's getting infected, did you hear about the guy who got hit in the head with a can of soda? He was lucky it was a soft drink. Alright. I think that'll be all the puns for today. But anyways, so as these dock workers, as these civilians get infected, they're not actually meant to get infected. So as you can see, while he's getting infected, he really has no, facial expression. He's kind of just, his face is just whatever. But all his animations match the Marines. As you can see, as they're getting infected, the Flood forces them to snap their own necks or something, and then that's when they start transforming faster. But as far as the infection animations go, they just share with the Marines. but they don't have any like facial animations or any like expressions when they get infected. Actually, a lot of Marines don't really show facial expressions that much either when they get infected. Some of them have more horrifying like faces and stuff like that, but for the most part, the dock workers, the civilians here, they don't show much facial expressions or emotions when they get infected by the Flood. They're just like, whatever. But yeah, so that answers the question, which is yes. Civilians in Halo 3 can in fact get infected by the Flood. And they just, even without modding, actually, they technically are able to. But anyways, hopefully you guys did enjoy this video and found it to be interesting. And as always, if you did, make sure to leave a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. Just anything else we need to check out, just let me know in the comments as always. And other than that, make sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.